it's Amy Nicholas. Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, I wanted to share my personal journey and how I started day trading 3 months ago. And am I still doing it? What has it been like? Am I making any money? Reasons why I got started in the first place. Initially, I started trading and didn't even realize that I was day trading right when I got in at the week of the election. So this was actually November. And I didn't really count November in this because I did much more swing trading during that time. And I got into it because years back, I had been really interested in learning the markets, studying investing, studying all this stock stuff. And there had come an opportunity in my life where I had made some money with business and I was like, it'd be really cool to do trading of some kind and do it much more actively. So there's sort of this spark, this desire. And this was way back in 2015. And things changed in my business. I couldn't put the time into trading like I wanted to. So I put it to the back burner. And then fast forward up to November this year, I went to a conference and something just kind of woke up in me after this success conference. And I was like, you know what? Now is the time. Now is the time to devote to this. I'm not happy doing my business stuff. I want to do something different. I want to do something fun and has the potential to really make some good money. And also is something I can have more control over versus, if you have online businesses through Amazon or you sell something on Etsy or eBay, you're at the mercy of that platform. If they decide to shut your account down tomorrow, that's it. You're done, right? And I've been through these experiences myself and it's no fun, right? You want to know that you have control over your finances and your life. So that was just sort of the right time for me to get into it. And I had sold my house a few months back. And so I was like, okay, well, I have capital that I can put towards a trading account that I don't need to pay the rent or anything. And it's not going to tie me up if this money is, in this account. If I lose some, no problem, whatever. So that was where I kind of got started. Now, December was when I kind of really got into the actual day trading. I kind of had this hesitancy about doing day trades because I was like, well, I don't like the idea that I have to close out my positions at the end of the day. What if the stock goes up the first thing the next morning and I could have made more money? So I decided to just sort of separate accounts that I had where I would put money into Fidelity for swing trades and I would put money into Schwab for my day trades. And that way I could just sort of mentally separate them and not be like, oh, I should hold this and whatnot. Now, I will say there was a couple of times where I got into a trade and it turned into a swing trade because I was super negative. And I've learned a lot of mistakes, lessons about doing things incorrectly with day trading. And I'll share a few tips in this video about kind of my lessons and what's helped me to get past these hurdles. Because day trading, first and foremost, is very, very much a mindset game. In fact, one of the best books I've found about this kind of stuff is The Mental Game of Trading. The author's name is Jared Tendler. And it really goes into the psychology. And it's really helped me a lot because in the beginning, so I've had the experience now of having different markets to trade in. When I first got in, it was very much a bull market. It was I don't want to say it was easy, but it was easier to learn and get into it that way. And then the big shift came in December, the end of the month, where all of a sudden the S&P decided to turn around and it dropped pretty hard. This was right before Christmas, I think it was. And the next thing you know, I'm trading in January and I'm like, this is different and I'm losing. And I'm like, oh, okay, we gotta change something here. Because I had a bunch of winning trades. And I think my frustration in the beginning of starting this journey was, how do I make more profit? I felt like I was either taking profit too soon, just making a few bucks here and there. It was I'd make 20, 30, 40 bucks maybe. And I was like, how do I really turn this up, right? And I wanted to have bigger share sizes and get into, I had the capital, it wasn't the problem. I just, was kind of held back by fear of losing money. And when I did start to increase is kind of when I wasn't playing safe. I wasn't operating with risk management. I really didn't understand all of that stuff in the beginning. I didn't understand this whole idea of like, what's my risk to my reward and all this stuff. And sometimes there's these videos on YouTube where they just sort of talk about this stuff and they don't really explain what it means. And it took me some time and some study, watching numerous videos, reading books to really understand the mechanics of risk management. So December I was green. I think I made a couple $100 profit. January I was just barely green by like $25, something like that. Because that's when, it got harder. And I think by the end of January, let me see if I can look over here real quick. I've got a list of some of my trades. I think by the end of January, very end of January, like the 31st, because I don't see too many other, there was a handful of other times I did this, but I started to trade. I started to trade ETFs that were on the short side, meaning that prior, a lot of my trades had been in an ETF that is called TSLR. It is a bull ETF for Tesla. So you get a kind of like a boosted return, and the shares are much cheaper, like, $30, $40 a share versus paying $200, $300, $400, whatever Tesla is at the time, per share. And it just made sense to trade that way versus to buy whole shares of Tesla. So I was going long, like buying, expecting Tesla to go up for a long time, and it worked for a while. And then when the market shifted and things changed, it was like, no, this isn't going up. So sometime in January, I only did this 2 or 3 times, but I started to go with the short or bearish ETF called TSLQ. It's just one of the ones I've traded a bunch of times, not the only one I trade, but that kind of changed things for me a little bit into February, where I started seeing the different side of the market. Instead of being like, oh, I'm always going to go long, I'm always going to look for the stuff that's going to go up. And, one of my favorite strategies was the gap in the market at the opening bell. A lot of times there'd be like a little bit of action in the pre-market, and then all of a sudden the stock would just shoot up, at the opening bell, and bam, you cash out, you get your trade. And then, a couple of times that just burned me because the problem was I realized, number one, you can't set a stop loss in the pre-market, at least not with Schwab. I don't think you can do this with any other platform. And this was one of my learning lessons too, was just learning how to have a stop loss, meaning that if the trade goes against me, exit me at this point. And it wasn't that long ago, embarrassingly so, like the last month, that I really started to learn how to use it, set it up right, and figure out a proper, risk management where I was comfortable with. Because I got to the point in January, a little bit in January, and into February, beginning of February, where I was mentally just like scared of losing money at that point. Because I had like a streak of just, I wasn't winning. And I'm like, I'm nervous to even go into the next trade because my confidence is shaken and I don't know that I know what I'm doing anymore. I had a strategy, but at that time I was like, okay, this strategy just isn't really effective right now. So I was like, okay, I got to adapt, right? So one of the things with day trading is a lot of people will recommend go with one strategy, and I highly encourage that. Like, stick to the one thing that you've had some sort of success at and keep honing it and keep using it until it doesn't work. For me, it was the what I call the gap and go strategy with the pre-market and then the opening bell. And then all of a sudden, a lot of times you just didn't know which way that was going to go. Sometimes the gap went down and you can lose quick, that way. So I was like, I got to adjust what I'm doing. I liked momentum moving stocks, stocks that were trading with volatility, moving up and down very quickly. I liked to trade first thing in the morning when the opening bell goes. Usually the first 30 minutes is like the best prime time. There's like a lot of volume in the market, a lot of liquidity. You can get in and out of positions very easily if you're trading these large cap stocks or the ETFs that match them. And then there's, the second half hour is good too. So like the first hour, the market is open, 9:30 to 10:30 Eastern. It's usually pretty good. And then the second hour used to be still also good. When I say used to be, back when the market was different. Now it seems like people are kind of holding back trading as much, and the first hour is really just the sweet spot for the kind of trading I do. So, I made some adjustments. I said, okay, I'm going to just focus on, fast moving, volatile stocks that I can take like a squeeze on, like if Tesla's going to drop from, 380 to 375, 370, I want to be there. I want to get that sharp move down. So that's kind of been my focus now, is actually because of the conditions of the market. It ain't no bullish market that I can see right now, is to actually favor most of the time on the short side. Now, I will say occasionally I'll go long if it looks like it's doing well. Something's popping. It's usually short-lived these days, but if something's popping, I might still go long on it and try it. So I've also been kind of following stocks that have earnings. Was able to make a winning trade on CVS recently. I would have had a winning trade on Robinhood, except that my stop loss was too tight. Yeah, missed the big move on that. So, kind of my experience has really shown me like the strength and character of myself as a person. And you really have to get to the root of some of the things that trigger you. So in the beginning for me, I think my first hurdle to overcome with day trading was the fear of losing money. Even though that money, I didn't need it. It wasn't going to bills or anything like that. But there was this sort of idea of like, oh my gosh, what if I get in and I'm wrong, right? So I started to set very tight risk management in terms of like, well, what number would I be comfortable with losing? Like if it was just so small that it was like hardly anything to me, what number would that be? And so I settled on $10 max loss per trade. And initially I had kind of the idea that I would take a couple of trades a day. And then I was like, you know what? If I take 3 trades a day, that's $30 a day. Say I just have a horrible week, I could potentially lose like $150. I'm not comfortable with that. So then my next rule was, okay, I'm only going to take 1 trade a day. So the most I would, go in for was like $10. And you're like, yeah, that's so small, right? Like you're just trading very small. Yes, I had to get to that point because by bringing down the amount of shares I was purchasing so that I could, have a stop loss that was big enough where, I wasn't going to get in the trade and immediately get kicked out. I was like, the only way to do that is to move, the position and bring the share size down. So that's kind of where I've been at the last couple weeks because I just wanted to be consistent. I wanted to follow my system, not do something dumb like I've done in the past where I didn't have stop loss, got stuck in the trade, turned into a swing trade. If you're doing this intentionally to day trade, you don't want to be in that position of like, oh, well, I'll just wait for it to turn around. Believe you me, the stress is just not worth it. I've done it a couple of times, made the mistakes, even recently, in the past couple of weeks, made the mistake of not having the stop loss there, or actually, I think in one scenario, it didn't trigger. I messed up something where it went so far down so quickly that it didn't actually sell me out, and I was like down way more than I should have been, and I stayed in it and I waited and I'm watching it all day, and then the next day I'm like, I'm gonna get out, in the pre-market, and then I was like, no, I'll wait till the open, and then it kept going down, and so I could have gotten out and actually made a profit, ended up taking a loss 5x times what I wanted to. So a lot of things that just you have to just be prepared if you want to do this. Like, be prepared that it's very much a mental game. It's so much like, you have to set up systems and rules, because when the emotions are flared and you're thinking about money and you're like, you see the market moving all fast and you like got to make these quick decisions, you want to have a system in place. And in fact, I always have my trading journal next to me with my parameters of like, okay, this is where I want to get in, this is where I want to get out, what's my max loss, that kind of thing. And lately I was teaching myself, this is kind of like the next level of Amy's journey, I've been teaching myself Thinkorswim, because before that I was trading just on Schwab's regular desktop platform, which is definitely not meant for day trading, but I made it work for a couple of months. And then I was like, you know what? I really need to be able to look at more data. I need to see stuff, kind of in real time a little bit better. So that's kind of the shift this last week was I taught myself Thinkorswim and how to get in and out of positions quickly. I set up like three-way orders, for example. So when you set up your buy order, a lot of times you can only place that as a separate order, and then you have to go into the system somewhere and say, okay, now sell me out if it hits my profit at this, and also if it doesn't, sell me out at the stop limit because I need to get out if it goes down here. So I figured out a way to like put all that together into one order, and it's like all kind of like a template and things. So this last week has been a really big growth week for me, which is great because it feels like I'm really making progress. Even though, again, like if you focus on the money, you might think, well, you know, I'm not going anywhere, right? Like when I looked at my trades for February, I'm actually like negative like $20. And you could say like, well, you didn't go anywhere this month. You lost a few dollars and you really didn't make any progress. And this is your third month. You should be going like up. And again, this is like inner voice talk, right? And for me, I'm actually grateful for all these other experiences and trades and losses because it got me to this point where I now know how to use a system properly that can execute very quickly a trade. I can get in and out. I can move my stop and my take profit limits very quickly. I'm understanding this platform faster. You know, it just makes it feel like I'm making progress. And to me, every time there's a losing trade, meaning, you know, it's a red one, I see it as part of my education, part of my, you know, tuition towards trading. And as long as I'm smart and I follow my rules and I say I'm not going to, you know, risk more than X dollars, and, you know, maybe if I'm like, one of my rules is 3 days red in a row, that's it, I'm done for the week. I'm trying to think if that happened last week. No, I don't think I've actually had to enforce that rule yet. So yay for me. But that's just one of the things I said, you know, because you get to a point where you just want to build wins, right? You want to, even if it's small stuff, you just want to build up that confidence. So, you know, rather than try to trade 5 days, you know, and you're already red 3, I was just like, well, mentally I'm not there that week. let's just call it done. And then the other thing was my one trade a day. It felt so limiting at first because I'm like, sometimes I'm in and out of a trade in a minute, 90 seconds, you know? And I'm like, well, I don't want to be done yet, right? Like I want to keep playing. So I considered doing, and a lot of people recommend this, and I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying I didn't. But a lot of people recommend paper trading, you know, going into a demo account, you're just trading with, you know, not real money. And some traders will say, you know, go in there and do it for like 3 months, 5 months, whatever. Get your system in place, learn strategy, that kind of thing. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying be aware that if you do something like that, you got to take into fact that you're going to trade entirely different when it's real and it's live and it's your freaking money. Okay. I could have gone that route, but what I decided instead to do, especially when I was like, okay, I got to figure this thing out. I'm not going green. I'm having losing trades consistently. What I decided to do was trade one share for practice. Yeah, so I would buy literally one share of a stock after my full size position trade that day. I would trade one share and risk the normal amount that I would risk on a full size trade. So for example, if I'm risking 40 cents per share on a trade, you know, my full size position, then in my one share trade, my stop loss would be 40 cents below what I got in at. So that has been my practice all week. And it's enabled me to trade, you know, anywhere, do practice trades like 5 to 10 a day. So I feel like now I'm really starting to get it. I'm more red than green doing that, but at least I'm making the mistakes with a very, very small amount, and it's real. It's live. It's real time. You know, even though I'm trading with one share, I'm just as excited if I get a green trade as I am if I'm trading a full size position. So this is just kind of the way I decided to go instead of going to paper trading or demo account. This is just me. If you can't trust yourself like that, then, you know, maybe you need to do that. I know with Thinkorswim, you can, when you log in, you can click paper trading or paper money, whatever they call it, instead of live, and you can go in and do it that way. I've just never even opened it, never done it. So anyways, guys, that's the day trading journey thus far. I'm really focused and dialed in on this. You know, I made a lot of videos here on the YouTube about investing, which is definitely a passion of mine, but what has really grown for me is the excitement and idea of day trading being like, this is my one thing, right? Like, this is my focus. What I intend to do is take profits exceeding like what I need for, you know, whatever, exceeding, and put that back into the market as long-term investments. And right now I'm just in the learning stage. I'm just, you know, enjoying it. My whole thing about getting into day trading was to have fun with it. And when it got too serious, I was like, okay, we got to take a step back here. Stop focusing on the money, you know, don't worry about the money, just get your process down, get your systems down. And in a very short period of time, things started to turn around for me mentally. And then I started to get that system down, my process down. The last 2 weeks, I've just been like following my rules. And then what ends up happening is you build up the confidence. And so I know, like, going forward, it just gets better and better, right? And eventually the money and the profits start to grow and grow and grow. I'll be able to increase my share sizes and, you know, have bigger risks because I'm going for bigger rewards because I'm comfortable doing it. Right now, I'm happy at my little set parameters, but, you know, I won't be here for long. So feel free to ask any questions down below, guys. Just wanted to kind of share what it's been like. And, you know, if you are unsure about doing it, you know, like, how much money does it take, right? How much money do you need to start day trading? I would say if you can save like $2,000, $2,500 that you don't need this money, it's not going to hurt you or whatever, save that up so that you can start buying enough shares to make it real. Like, when I'm buying, say, for example, TSLQ, this is like a I think it's like $47, something like that, ETF. So, you know, if I'm buying like 25 shares, we'll just say 48, that's $1,200, right? So you got to have the capital in order to put forth. And you also have to consider, like, if you were to take 2 full-size trades a day or something, like you're doing like me, like 25, you got to wait for that money to settle. If you're not got a margin account, if you're doing a cash account, you're not using any borrowed funds from your broker, you have to wait for those funds from the trade that you got in and out same day. You have to wait till the next business day for them to settle. So, like, if you only have $2,500, yeah, you can only do that trade twice and you're done, right? Pretty much. So that's one of the reasons too I do the one trade thing, or the one share thing, because it's like $30 here, $40 here. Like, you know, it's just, I don't have to worry about my funds not being available. If you get caught like trying to trade when it's not settled, because for some reason you still can, you get a warning from your broker, and they potentially can suspend your account, because it's a rule. You have to normally you have to have 25 grand in a cash margin account to trade. But if you're just trading through a cash account, no margin, doesn't matter how much money you have, you just can't repeatedly use those funds over and over in the same day. So I hope that makes sense. So anyways, guys, take care. I'll see you on the next one.